You know, you have to know where you're going to go, and how are you going to bring people on that journey with you so they understand what bus stop they need to get on at, and if they can get off at another bus stop and maybe go and have a little picnic for a while and rejoin. How does that happen? I'm Heather Akehurst, and I'm Chief Executive at Open Awards. So we design and accredit qualifications through Ofqual, and we produce diplomas for access to higher education through QAA. We do external quality assurance on all the apprenticeship standards that the Institute for Apprenticeships is currently responsible for, and we're in the middle of handing those over to Ofqual by the end of the year. And we do some endpoint assessments. So it's been a mad 2 years really, and we're in the middle of summer awarding. So it was quite nice to come out from the chaos to do this today. So I spent the first half of my career as a career civil servant. Absolutely loved it. Did lots of different things, from working for the SOCH, as it was known in those days, and then moved over to do government outsourcing and some work with the Treasury. From that, came to work for a wonderful charity called Local Solutions, which is real cradle to grave services. So did a bit of everything, but my passion really is around working with people to change their lives, and education really is fundamental of that at absolutely any age. So we work with schools. We do a lot of work with SEN schools and SEN provision. So we try and make that exciting. We try and make it mainstream. We try and make it relevant. And then we work with a lot of academy chains. So we'll do a lot of vocational qualifications through to FE colleges, more traditional routes. And we're currently doing some quite exciting work with higher level qualifications, particularly with Health Education England, social prescribing, and those sorts of qualifications that are really straddling between social care, which is what I had a bit of with Local Solutions, and NHS provision. So yeah, it's quite varied, and it's really exciting, and I really love it. I think that's quite a hard question, and I don't think there's a one size fits all answer to it. So I think to be a leader, you have to understand yourself and what motivates you and what drives you. So I have come to understand that I am quite values driven, and working in the charity and the voluntary sector is absolutely for me, because that's what I want to do. I want to make a difference. And so for me, my values and my organisation's values drive absolutely everything that we do, and we sense check against those all the time. I think as well as that, you have to have a good communication skill set in lots of different ways. So I always describe leadership as driving a bus. So you know where you're going to get to, but you've got to persuade people to come on that journey with you. And that means lots of different things for lots of different people. So over the last 15 months, a lot of my time has been spent devising lots of silly things to get staff involved in and to get our providers involved in, because actually the biggest challenge has not been delivering and doing the work. The biggest challenge is keeping everybody as a team when we're increasingly geographically disparate. We've not been able to have our sort of monthly check-ins where we get everybody in the same space. We've not been able to go out and meet providers. So we've done an awful lot of work which sometimes can seem a bit stupid. So line of duty was an absolute gift for us because nearly all the office watched it. So we had loads of quizzes, we had loads of Teams chat, loads of stupid things that went on. Desperate for Love Island to start so we can pick that up again. And then our providers get involved in that because, we like to have a bit of a laugh at Open Awards. So if you look at our social media, it's not deadly serious. We like to do those things. So I think communications is really key. I suppose picking on that, caring is quite key. Because I think you have to care for what your mission is, you have to care for your organisation, and you have to care for all the people that are in that organisation and or who you're working for. So for us, absolutely, our providers and our learners are absolutely key to everything that we do. I've had some really good, bosses, leaders, managers in my time. And I think you look at that and you think that was really good. And you try and remember that and you emulate that. And I think one thing that I have learned is I'm not a particularly reflective person. I'm this is the thing, let's do it, let's get on with it. And so I've had to learn to be more reflective. And when issues and challenges have come up, I do sometimes think to myself, what would, certain people have dealt, how would they have dealt with it? I've had lots of people who have given me loads of time in that respect. I include you in that, Andy, where you're constantly picking up and learning from people and thinking that was really good, so I'm just going to borrow that and use it. I like to think I'm quite an open leader. So within my organisation, I will say to people, if I've got something to say, I'm going to say it to your face. And I'm going to be really straight about it, and that's good or bad. And I expect you to do the same. So if I've done something and you think I don't like that, or that could have been done differently, then come and tell me that as well. And I will always think about it. I don't always promise that I will change, but I will always think about it. And I think I'm just constantly learning and constantly evolving, because I think if you think you know it, that's the time to stop, really, isn't it? But I think it's just nicking it from loads of different people. In the early days, I tried to please everybody, and that doesn't work. I've learnt that. So I think there is a time for saying this is what I think and consulting on it, and I'm a big believer in that. But then you have to act on it, and then you have to see it through. And this whole thing about working with reflective people. So I find that difficult because I'm not a natural reflector. So I've had to kind of evolve strategies for that. So I have a person in my senior leadership who is very reflective, and annoyingly she's usually right. But kind of what happens is you have a big meeting to decide the strategic plan or the budget, and you think you've got it signed off and boxed off, and then the next day she phones you, or when we were in the office, she'd pop in and go, do you know what I've been thinking about, and we need to change this and we need to do that. And she's always right, but I find that quite hard to deal with. So I've learnt lots of coping strategies. So if we have a big decision to make, I will meet with that person before the meeting so that they kind of know what we're going to talk about and we're going to say, and they've had their chance to reflect on that. And 9 times out of 10 that works. Working in kind of education and qualifications, particularly the smaller awarding organisations, we've become incredibly collegiate and incredibly collaborative in a very competitive field. And that's worked really, really well. So I'm hoping that kind of spirit and passion remains. I think not all organisations are as learner and as provider focused as we are, and I'd like to see more of that. And that involves organisations taking risks sometimes. And I get that that's harder, that's easier, for us to do because we're smaller and we work in a smaller space than for perhaps a bigger organisation. So I just think there's a whole wonderful world out there and it's never changing. And I'm just not sure that one, the qualifications landscape is changing fast enough for it. And two, that we are absolutely doing enough for every single child and every single adult that is facing retraining to make sure they know about all the different options and all the different routes that are available to them. Enjoy what you're doing. You know, you're in long days in work, so enjoy what you're doing. And if you don't enjoy it, and I get that it's not that easy to just chuck in your notice and find another job, but find yourself a route to get into something. So enjoy what you're doing. We all have boring days, and we all have, but by and large I think you have to thoroughly enjoy what you're doing. So I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is, if you get opportunities, take them and don't care about what other people think. So I found, particularly in the civil service, there would be lots of, do you want to go and shadow the permanent minister for a week? Do you want to go and work in number 10 and do some summer leave cover? And I would always go, yes. And then you just gradually become aware that other people are going, well, why does she always get the opportunity? Well, actually, everybody had the opportunity. I was just the one that went, yes, that sounds a bit different. Let's have a go. So I would always say to people, take those opportunities. And then I think the other thing is to learn from people that you think are doing a good job. Because if you think they're doing a good job, the chances are they're aligned with your values. And so whether they're in another organisation, in your own organisation, but, just have a chat with them about it. So, I've had loads of people from not just within Open Awards, but come and go. I really enjoyed, the session or the talk or, what you've done. Can we have a chat about it? And everybody feels flattered by that. So you're always going to go, yes.